Your great-grandparents didn't need a subscription box to survive. They didn't need a $40 a month probiotic. They didn't need a $600 a year cleaning product collection. They had a root cellar, a mason jar, and common sense. And what they knew, what they practiced every single day without thinking twice, has been quietly buried by industries that profit from you forgetting it. These 9 homestead tricks kept families alive for centuries. Every one of them was standard knowledge on every working homestead in America. None of them required electricity, a credit card, or a government permit. And every single one has been replaced by a product someone is selling you. So let's count them down, starting with number 9. Before refrigerators existed, every homestead had a crock of fermenting cabbage, cucumbers, or beets sitting in the cellar. Sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented pickles. These were not health food trends. They were how you kept vegetables edible through winter. Your great-grandmother packed a mason jar with shredded cabbage, salted it, pressed it down, and waited 2 weeks. That was her probiotic. It also fed the family through January. A 2024 study published in Gut Microbiome found that regular consumers of lacto-fermented vegetables had greater diversity of fecal metabolites, including short-chain fatty acids like acetate and propionate, compounds directly linked to reduced inflammation and better gut health. The modern replacement is a $40 a month supplement. The probiotic industry is now worth $77 billion globally. A head of cabbage and a tablespoon of salt costs pennies and produces billions of live organisms, the exact same ones those supplements are trying to replicate in a lab. Number 8. Homesteaders never bought soap. They saved hardwood ash from the stove all winter, leached it with water to make lye, that is potassium hydroxide, then combined it with rendered tallow or lard over a low fire. The result was a pale amber bar that handled laundry, dishes, and the Saturday night bath. Wood ash lye is actually less caustic than the commercial sodium hydroxide sold today and produces a softer, more skin-friendly soap. This process was practiced for centuries across cultures, from indigenous peoples to colonial Americans to Appalachian homesteaders deep in the hollows. And here's the part the beauty industry really doesn't want you to hear. A 2024 scoping review published in Curious found that tallow's fatty acid profile closely matches human sebum, giving it moisturizing, hydrating, and antimicrobial properties. That is exactly the opposite of what the synthetic skincare industry has been telling you for decades. They sell you a petroleum-based cleanser that strips your skin, then sell you a moisturizer to fix what the cleanser just damaged. Your grandmother's 1 bar of tallow soap did both jobs. It cost her nothing but time, and a year's supply sat on the porch curing in the open air. Number 7 takes us underground, literally. A properly built root cellar maintains 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 to 95% humidity, using nothing but the Earth's natural insulation and basic ventilation. No electricity, no compressor, no monthly utility bill. Your grandfather dug a 10-foot hole into the hillside, lined it with stone, built a thick plank door, and at that constant temperature and humidity, potatoes lasted through spring, apples kept until April, and cabbages survived 7 months packed in sand. Studies on evaporative cooling methods show that vegetables like brinjal that last only 3 days at room temperature survive 9 days in zero-energy cool chambers. Wet burlap draped over containers can lower ambient temperatures by 10 to 15 degrees using nothing but evaporation. Your ancestors stored a full year of food underground. You are paying $150 a month in electricity to run a refrigerator and a chest freezer. The root cellar ran on physics. The electric bill runs on your paycheck. Number 6 might be the most important trick on this entire list, and the one that's been most deliberately erased. Every homesteader saved seeds. You grew open-pollinated varieties, let the strongest plants go to seed, dried them, and replanted the next year. Free seeds, perfectly adapted to your exact climate and soil. improving every single season. India lost over 90% of its 110,000 landraces of rice when hybrid varieties displaced traditional seeds. Globally, we have lost roughly 75% of crop genetic diversity in the last century. That did not happen by accident. Corporate hybrid and GMO seeds are engineered so you cannot save them. They do not grow true to type, which forces you to buy new seeds every single season. 4 corporations now control over 60% of global seed sales. Meanwhile, the Seed Savers Exchange maintains over 20,000 unique heirloom varieties. Landrace varieties that evolved with the land over decades require fewer external inputs, less water, less fertilizer, fewer pesticides. Seed saving is the single most rebellious act of food independence you can perform, and your great-grandparents did it every autumn without thinking twice. Number 5. Before the cleaning product aisle existed, every homestead had 1 jug of vinegar. Windows, countertops, drains, produce washing, all vinegar. 1 bottle handled the entire house. Researchers at the University of Birmingham found that acetic acid concentrations as low as 0.16% inhibited growth of all tested bacterial strains, including Staphylococcus, E. coli, and Pseudomonas. It destroyed mature biofilms within 3 hours. A separate NIH study confirmed that acetic acid is an effective tuberculocidal disinfectant, and standard white vinegar at 5% concentration showed a mean bacteria removal efficiency of 83%. That is not folk wisdom. That is peer-reviewed science. The average American household spends over $600 a year on cleaning products. A gallon of white vinegar costs $3. Your grandmother's house was spotless, and she never once walked down a cleaning aisle with 200 options designed to make her feel like she needed all of them. Number 4, and this one might change how you look at your garden forever. Old homesteaders did not spray chemicals on their crops. They planted strategically. Marigolds near tomatoes, basil among peppers, nasturtiums planted specifically to lure aphids away from food crops. This was not gardening folklore. This was applied entomology passed down through generations. Controlled trials showed that intercropping basil with tomatoes reduced whitefly populations by up to 60%. UC Davis research found that plants high in terpenes reduce hornworm egg-laying by up to 70%. A study at the Rodale Institute found that tansy and catmint planted alongside potatoes were 58 to 100% effective at repelling Colorado potato beetles. No chemicals, no protective equipment, no runoff into the water table. The global pesticide market is worth $85 billion. Your great-grandparents controlled pests with flowers and herbs that also fed pollinators and made the garden smell like something worth walking through. Number 3, and this one is literally growing under your feet right now. Homesteaders knew what grew in their fields and forests. Elderberry for colds, yarrow to stop bleeding, plantain leaf, the common weed growing in your lawn at this very moment, for stings and wounds. They did not need a pharmacy. They needed a keen eye and a grandmother who paid attention. Studies confirm elderberry can reduce cold symptoms and shorten flu duration through antiviral and anti-inflammatory effects. Yarrow contains acetylene, a compound that encourages blood clotting. It was literally called soldier's woundwort because battlefield medics packed it into wounds for centuries. Plantain, that's Plantago major, not the banana, has documented antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and cytotoxic effects. It has been used in salves for wounds, burns, eczema, and ulcers across cultures for hundreds of years. It grows in sidewalk cracks and between paving stones. 3 of the most effective medicinal plants in the research literature grow as weeds in most American yards. You have been mowing your medicine cabinet every Saturday morning. Number 2. Every old homestead had cisterns, barrels, or catchment systems. Some ancient rainwater systems, Roman cisterns, Indian johads and stepwells are still functional after thousands of years. A 1,000 square foot roof in an area receiving 30 inches of annual rainfall can collect roughly 18,000 gallons per year. That is enough for a large garden and all household non-potable use. Rainwater harvesting recharges groundwater, prevents soil erosion, reduces stormwater runoff, and provides a critical backup during droughts. It is one of the most effective and least expensive water management strategies ever developed. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. In some U.S. states, collecting rain off your own roof is restricted or regulated. Colorado actively prosecuted homeowners for rain barrels until 2016. Ask yourself who benefits when you cannot collect free water falling from the sky onto property you own. And number 1, the single most versatile trick on any homestead. When a homesteader butchered a cow, nothing was wasted. The fat was rendered into tallow, and that single ingredient replaced an entire shelf of modern products. Cooking oil, moisturizer, candles, soap, leather conditioner, waterproofing for boots, skin balm. One substance, dozens of uses. Tallow is heat-stable for cooking with a high smoke point, shelf-stable for months without refrigeration, and its fatty acid composition is remarkably similar to human skin oils. That same 2024 scoping review in Curious confirmed tallow has moisturizing and antimicrobial properties that make it genuinely effective for skin care. Your grandmother rendered the fat in a cast iron pot on the wood stove, strained it into jars, and had a year's supply of the most versatile substance on the homestead. The modern world took that one ingredient and split it into 12 different products at 12 different price points. Separate cooking oil, separate moisturizer, separate candles, separate soap, separate leather conditioner. Each one sold to you individually with its own branding and markup. Your grandmother had one jar, and it did everything. Every trick on this list was standard practice within living memory. None of them required a subscription, a permit, or a degree. They required patience, observation, and the kind of knowledge that got passed down at kitchen tables instead of sold back to you in plastic packaging. So, which of these 9 are you going to try first? Drop it in the comments. And if your family still practices any of these quietly, the fermenting, the seed saving, the tallow rendering, tell us which one. These skills survived this long for a reason, and the fact that you just watched this whole video tells me you already know why.